FromSoft, you came so close. So close to making my new favorite game of all time. It's so good. But whoever made the bosses, what were they thinking? I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to compare Elden Ring's bosses to Dark Souls 3 bosses. Because in my opinion, Dark Souls 3 has the best bosses in the series. I think by doing this, we can get a good idea of where exactly FromSoft went wrong here. Now, this is where the spoilers kick in. So if you haven't gotten this far in Elden Ring, I mean, you should have known better clicking on this video. But there is a boss named Malenia. And trust me, by the end of this fight, you will know her name. In my opinion, this is the hardest Souls boss ever created. Not in a good way, though. The biggest problem with Malenia, the thing that they need to fix, but they literally never will, and probably can't even, is the way that they split up her phases. Why is it that phase 1 has its own separate health bar, when other hard bosses like Radahn and Malekith, both of their phases are condensed into one health bar? That's so much more fair. As a consequence of this, Malenia has like double the health of every other boss in the game. And then, hey, on top of that, let's have her heal every time she hits you. Why? Honestly, it's not even the most egregious thing in the fight. I actually find it kind of cool because the better you get at dodging her attacks and finding openings, it really feels like a duel. Here's the problem. She heals even when you're blocking, which makes no sense. She has insta-kill moves that also heal a huge chunk of her health back. So go fuck yourself. Literally one of these moves is undodgeable. You can't. You can only iframe the second volley of attacks here. The first and third you have to block with a Great Shield. So if you don't have that, well, I guess you have to go respec your character. Because I seriously don't know what else you would do. And also, where are the openings? When are you supposed to hit her? There's no time. Do you attack here? No. Here? No. Here, no. Every other Souls boss in the series has an opening. There's a time where you can get like 3 to 4 good hits in. Another huge issue, and this is actually an issue with all the Elden Ring bosses, summoning. I don't blame a single person for summoning for this boss. I'm not talking about people. I mean, you can do that. I wouldn't blame you for that either. But the new summoning system they added, it breaks the game. One specific summon, we all know what I'm talking about. We're all using it. Just look at your file. I know you're using a plus 10 mimic tier. Don't fucking hide it from me. Everyone in the comments of every boss, oh, I found this boss really easy. And someone replies, oh, what were you using? Plus 10 mimic tier with the Moonlight Greatsword. It's like, no shit, you had an easy time. The mimic tier is broken. There are certain boss moves, specifically Malenia, that will literally one-shot you. If she uses it on your mimic, it does like 1/16 of his health. Plus he can heal, plus he can use any other items you have on your hotbar. And he does, I'm pretty sure, just as much damage as you do, maybe half, but it's really not noticeable. If you and your mimic can get desynced and just swing once, and then your mimic swings, and then you swing again, you can completely just chain her. It's literally the Ice Climber's grapple. It's required. I can't blame anyone for doing this. Like in any other game, I would have said, wow, that's some cheese. It's literally necessary. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent on the summons here, but it's worth mentioning, like, for the first maybe 3 bosses, it was useful because they didn't have a lot of health. They generally got one-shot pretty quickly, and then the rest of the fight you do on your own. But it was a nice little head start to the fight. But by the time you get the Mimic tier, throw every other summon you have in the fucking garbage. It doesn't matter anymore. You only need one summon. So why have all these other summons that are pretty cool and they all have different utilities? No, it doesn't matter. I even tried some different summons because I was so sick of being overpowered, but I needed a summon to even fight Malenia. And the next best thing sucked. Like, it just wasn't good enough. You have to have the Mimic tier. They did not test this enough, and it needs to be fixed, or else it's just like, yes, you can ignore it, but it's almost a slap in the face to any player who does this solo. Like, they work their ass off. They fight this boss for weeks, learning every move, every pattern. They finally beat Malenia. They share it, and the comments are just full of people saying, I beat this first try with my Mimic tier, and you just, a single tear rolls down your face. Anyways, holy fuck, she one-shots you at the start of phase 2. She still heals with every hit. She has AoEs coming out of her ass. Like, what do you do? By phase 2, it feels like you're just pulling a lever and hoping you hit 3 sevens. That's seriously what it feels like. In fact, I beat her in my game on this playthrough. I've only fought her twice. Once on my first playthrough and once in New Game 3. She glitched. I don't know what happened, but at the start of phase 2, she had 0 health. I just had to hit her a few times and she died. That was the only reason I beat her within a day. I think that about covers why I hate Malenia so much. So let's transition over to Nameless King. I won't say Nameless King is flawless. I really can't, because I remember the rage I had fighting this guy. It might have been close to Malenia, but under the surface, I really was having a fun time. Like, it felt fair. A lot of the deaths felt like they were my fault. Phase 1, I don't even really have to talk about, but it is worth mentioning that Phase 1 has such little health. But then in Phase 2, that's where he gets a majority of his health. So those of you saying, well, Nameless King also has 2 health bars. Yeah, 1 is significantly lower. Malenia is literally the same in phase 1 and 2. Once you learn the moveset of Storm King, it's over. Like, it's so easy. It doesn't take long at all. Riposte the King of Storms 2 to 3 times. Into phase 2. That's where the real fight begins, pretty much. So what makes Nameless King hard? Does he heal every time he hits you? No. Does he do ungodly amounts of damage every time he hits you? You don't get one shot, that's for sure. His actual, like, one-shot move has a huge wind-up. You will see it coming. You can easily roll through it. Nameless King is hard because of his weird attack patterns. So even if you learn a set of swings, there's still a chance you might pull out this, like, different combo that you have to adjust to on the fly. So you kind of have to watch where he's swinging, how he's swinging. It's cool. By the time you learn it, it's rewarding. He has a lot of health. He has some ranged attacks. You can roll through them. He has some huge delay when he's up in the air and he's coming in for, like, a thrust attack. And finally, the moves where he, like, throws lightning up in the air, you kind of have to count the seconds in your head when it will land, and there's 2 variations of that. One lands really fast, one is really delayed. So I would say what makes Nameless King hard overall is the delay in his swings. He can really catch you off guard if you're used to his moveset. He might throw out a new move at a different time, or hold his sword back for like 2 seconds longer, and catch you in the middle of your roll. Elden Ring takes this concept and runs away with it. You can roll 4 times before a boss lands his strike on the ground. That's stupid. That's an example of delaying attacks gone wrong, especially their air attacks when they jump in the air and they stay up there for 4 seconds. It's unrealistic, and it's like, you see right through it. You know what they're doing. You're like, oh, Nameless King was difficult for this reason, so now every boss just does the same thing. It's not fair. Some bosses need to be easier and predictable, and have openings to strike and heal. That is the biggest thing that makes Nameless King fair. He will walk back and forth, kind of staring you down in between volleys of attacks that lets you heal. He doesn't really have a heal punish. Elden Ring bosses are relentless. Malenia specifically, there's just no downtime unless, again, you stagger her with your Mimic, or you literally knock her over, get the riposte in. You can see combos chaining into combos. I was fighting my instincts of running in for an attack after a combo, because that's what I'm used to in these games. And then she just keeps striking, and it's like, stop. I think that's about it for this specific case study of comparing these 2 really hard bosses. I think it's clear as day what my opinion is. I think Nameless King is a hard boss done right, and Malenia is just, oh, it's so artificially difficult. It's infuriating. Will they nerf any of the things in her fight? They can't merge her phases into 1 health bar. I just don't think that's possible. That's too big of a change for them to make. I think their only hope is to either reduce the amount she heals, which I also don't see happening, or nerf the fucking Mimic. I want to end this video off on a positive note. The Soul series is notorious for insanely good DLCs. Every game has a DLC, and it always includes the best bosses of that game. So there's still hope. Please, From Software, take everyone's criticism and use that to make the best bosses we've ever seen. Please. I swear if you make the final boss 2 Malenias at once, I will smash my copy of the game.